Hello and welcome to the Miyagi Championships here in OP08. The Japan CS is underway. The first Japan Championship Series that has the new starter decks 15 through 20. If you didn't see on our channel, we covered some of the new and updated decks, but today we are going to see an actual tournament with those decks and see those results. I'm so excited to bring you this tournament. I've been itching to get the commentary underway for this, counting down the days, hours, minutes, and I'm sure many of these players are too with their exciting lists right now. I have seen up to this point the top 16, what the top 16 deck distribution is, but I don't know anything else about this tournament, so I'm going to be knocking out in all these videos, these English unique commentary unofficial videos. I'm going to be knocking out these matches, so you're going to see the true genuine reactions of myself in these matches. Now, as I said, unofficial English commentary, this is a rebroadcast of the official Japan Championship live stream. If you want to go watch this tournament yourself, not hear me yap, feel free to click the link in the description below. As always, I let you know where you can find these championships. But for those of you that are staying, we have a deck distribution for you right here. This is thrilling in my opinion. This is the first time that Red Purple Law since OP08's release has not taken double-digit spots of the top 16. So to already see it go down to 4 and there be another deck right next to it that has the same amount in the top 16, that Enel right there, both having 4, those are those top 2 spots if you can't read this in Japanese. I absolutely love this. And I'm so excited. We've got Black Yellow Luffy as well, taking 3 of the different spots. That's not super surprising in my opinion if Red Purple Law did not exist, especially as dominant as it is. That only brings up the Black Yellow Luffy stocks. Blue Doflamingo making a resurgence into the top 16 now with double spots, 2 of them making it in the top 16, bettering the last chance that it had in the previous tournament that it appeared in. 2 Rob Lucci, so Rob Lucci still staying strong in 2 decks of this top 16, and 1 super surprising, we've never seen this text here in the 08 tournaments. It's Vegapunk. OP08 Vegapunk making the top 16. I don't know the matchup yet. They have to show the Vegapunk, right? They're showing the Vegapunk. They're definitely showing the Doflamingo in there, but I don't know what the other deck is. Please be Vegapunk. I am dying to see this Vegapunk and how it's built. But like I mentioned, Doflamingo right here, 2 decks inside this top 16, a deck that got a lot of boosts with the starter deck that it was part of, the Doflamingo starter deck. So very exciting to be able to see this as well in the match, but we'll see who they're playing against. And it looks like it will be the Vegapunk. Okay, so I have to pull up the Vegapunk deck list. I'm gonna be super honest, I am not 100% familiar about what Vegapunk does. I know what it does, but like the deck itself and some of the different strategies. So let me pull up a list real quick. All right, I got my Vegapunk pulled up. I got my Doflamingo deck pulled up. Just in case you do not know, let's go over Vegapunk real quick. 2 life, so that's one of the unique things about this leader. It is a 2 life leader. I think the only 2 life leader that we've seen in the One Piece trading card game. 5,000 power as a yellow egghead and scientist. This leader cannot attack, so one of the few leaders in the game that is not allowed to swing into your opponent's characters or life, but it has an activate main once per turn, resting 1 Dawn. You can place 1 5-cost or less egghead type card from your hand face up on the top of your life or into play. And it does say type card, so event cards work on it too. There's also the Doflamingo. Doflamingo, by attaching 2 Dawn and then resting 1 when attacking, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a 4-drop or less 7 Warlords of the Sea type character, you can play that on the field rested. 5 life, blue, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Doflamingo Pirates, 5,000 power in case you're curious. But both players have their starting hands. It looks like we've got the Doflamingo's hand first. Got a couple of the new cards from the starter deck, you've got the Marshall D. Teach, you've got the Boa Hancock, the new Trafalgar Law are some of the new cards in this deck, and then 2 Edward Weevils, some interesting cards right here. A Jinbei would go very hard in this list, I feel like. The Vegapunk in this hand, gonna be curious to see what this deck is built on. You've got the Please Help Me event card, a Lilith SR, Flampe, a nice old 2K, 8-drop Katakuri, and then another event, one of the events that came out in OP07. It's called the Man with the Greatest Brain. That's that like Kuma character right there. That, in essence, if you do not know, is an egghead searcher. 1-drop egghead searcher, looks at the top 5. So first, let me open the shades for more. Okay, I guess Morticia wanted to go. I guess I was a little too loud. I was going to open the shades. The Doflamingo going first is not a bad idea, especially in what I would consider probably a more unknown matchup. That Doflamingo with 3 Dawn is going to be able to use its leader effect for the first time, so could get some good stuff in that. Although I think you don't have to potentially blind flip, I think. So, well, maybe. It depends. So 1 Dawn, it's just going to be a pass. Going to draw into the next turn for the Vegapunk. Going to get that Robin there, and so going to do that Kuma search, that Egghead search. Going to be looking for an Egghead card. Going to find... What did they find? It looks like they found a Rocket Luffy. So Rocket Luffy, very well known as that 5-drop, able to pop different characters. Going to be really good in this matchup, I feel like. And so playing that down through the leader effect and passing the turn. One of the great things about this deck is cheating out characters like crazy. So on your 2 Dawn turn, your first turn of the game, playing a 5-drop 6,000 power character is crazy. So getting that Crocodile off the draw from the starter deck, it's going to be what looks like a Marshall D. Teach that's coming in. Marshall D. Teach is a great card to play on the 3 Dawn turn. You put a card on the top of your deck from your hand, in this case the Weevil, right, and then you attach 2 Rested Dawn to your leader, and so then when you swing 7 and use leader effect, you can play that exact card that you put on the top of your deck. An insanely strong combo, especially now because you don't have to look at your top 5. Getting a Jinbei off of the Weevil draw is going to be so good for playing more great cards in your hand. I really like this Doflamingo star right now, but this Vegapunk is going to be applying a ton of pressure. They could do something right now where they do a little bit of controlling, swinging 7 at the Weevil right now, it could be, or at life trying to get it. And it looks like it is going to be at the Weevil, controlling the board a little bit, and then going to use that Luffy effect to clear board entirely. Get that Marshall D. Teach. That Marshall D. Teach is an activate main once per turn, so the longer that stays around, the more combos the Doflamingo is going to be able to do. And then finalizing the turn off, putting the Lilith in the life. The Lilith does have a trigger. That trigger is if your leader is Vegapunk, play this card. So a really nice combo right there, going to be able to get that trigger and play Lilith being a searcher, 3-drop searcher for this deck. So going into this turn now, 5 Dawn turn for the Doflamingo, still at 5 life, but going to need to be building a little bit of a board. Is just going to swing 6. I would imagine that they're probably going to play this Jinbei Weevil combo in their hand to get multiple characters out on the field right now, because you're not necessarily worried about getting swung at in the next turn. And that's exactly what they're going to do, at least for the Jinbei. The Jinbei is going to allow another 7 Warlords of the Sea type character to come out onto the field, and it's going to be that extra Weevil they hand, drawing a Gravity Blade. Gravity Blade could be nice if Vegapunk continuously cheats out the 5 cost or less characters. So going to be going into their turn now, going to be playing that Lilith, got another one in their hand, going to be searching, looking at the top 5, I believe it is, and going to be looking for a Vegapunk card. They got a Chaka right there. Chaka, a nice card, being a blocker that you can put in life, but is going to go for the Please Help Me event card. Could be nice when you have a little bit of struggle on some different events that you're not sure which one you want to play. But with the leader effect, is going to be putting that Please Help Me in the life. The Please Help Me has a trigger. Play 1 Egghead character with a cost of 5 or less from your trash, so that Rocket Luffy is going to be able to come back, which is a very nice key right here in this game. Drawing another whatchamacallit, Gravity Blade right now in the turn. Don't want to play Gravity Blade yet. You probably want to wait until something else comes on the field to get the maximum amount on your field. Could have a couple different options in here. You see the Trafalgar Law that is in this deck. The Trafalgar Law, if you return that character or one of your characters to the owner's hand, if your leader has 7 warlords, return up to 1 4-cost or lower character to its owner's hand. So you can, just as much as putting cards back in your hand, put cards back into your opponent's hand. So another aspect of controlling the board for both of these decks. Just really strong in the One Piece trading card game right now. So at 7 Dawn, could do a character and leader effect if they want. Could do something like the Boa Hancock. The Boa Hancock allows you to rearrange your top 3 and then give a rested Dawn to a character. But going to start out by swinging 5 just to see exactly what they do. Do a little bit of poke damage right now. Those Robins, I believe, are a 1K character. Yeah, 1K counter character, but with a great trigger of, if your leader has an Egghead type, draw 2 cards. Really good in this deck. Someone, or a lot of people, thinking that it may be more of a bulk card, but this Weevil going ahead and swinging 6 now, leaving all 7 Dawn open up to this point. So maybe going at a different angle than the Boa Hancock is going to get that Please Help Me and play that Rocket Luffy down onto the field right now. If they do play that Trafalgar Law, that Trafalgar Law would not be able to get the Luffy pumped back into hand, would only be able to do the Lilith, because the Trafalgar Law does say 4 or less, so that Luffy being a 5 or less is not going to work for that combo, but just going to be swinging 5 right now. So this is interesting. Being very obvious with 7 Dawn, probably using a Gravity Blade if you're the Vegapunk opponent. So what do you do at this point? Ends up using a 1K counter, and then the Gravity Blade goes in and bottom decks those 2 cards right there. So don't have to worry about the Luffy popping your characters or battling with the Lilith. You don't really have a ton of counter in hand. You don't have any 2Ks, I believe, at this point. The new Crocodile from the starter deck being only a 1K character. But at 8 Dawn is going to put the Weevil in the life, and 6 life now for the Doflamingo. So getting a little rocky, I feel like, at times. But you do have to remember that the Vegapunk does still have 2 life, and at every single turn that they rest 1 Dawn, they are going to be able to play a 5-drop or lower Egghead type card from their hand into their life or on the field if they want to. So could be interesting to see how this game continues to develop. 9 Dawn now for the Doflamingo. Might want to try to put the Weevil in play. The Weevil would draw you a card, which would be very nice, or could do a little bit of stuff like Boa Hancock to be able to set up the field, because Boa Hancock, although I mentioned it does reorder that top 5, it also gives a rested Dawn to a leader or character. And so they are going to be doing that. Boa Hancock looking at the top 3, seeing what they can work with. A 2K buggy is nice. Sengoku Searcher is also cool, and then Doflamingo Blocker right here. So is going to be interesting to see what you can do. The buggy, I don't believe, is the buggy a 7 Warlords of the Sea type character? It is. So could be something that you play off of your leader effect, and that would also rearrange your top 3. Might try to combo that. Well, I don't think you'd be able to combo that with the Law, actually. You're 1 Dawn short from that combo. So going to be attaching 1 after doing that rested Dawn. 3 Dawn left, going to be playing that Doflamingo, looking at the top 5 now, reordering the top 5, maybe setting themselves up for the next turn. You see a Crocodile right there and another Doflamingo, a couple 2K, so probably going to put a 2K on top just to draw into it. It wouldn't surprise... What would you do? The Sengoku right here is going to be able to grab a card, so putting the Sengoku on top, maybe just drawing into the Sengoku next turn. And with that 7k swing, the Lilith is going to go off and play on the field, searching for an egghead type card, looking around, maybe eyeing up another one of those Robin, maybe putting the Robin in life and drawing cards, or maybe thinking of the Onami. And so thinking about what they want to eye up, the Onami would be interesting if you grabbed the Onami, but we'll have to see between the Robin. I guess it depends on drawing 2 cards, which is what they're going for, that Robin having that trigger. Looks like favoring that one. Now with 3 Dawn left, the Doflamingo attaching 3 to the Jinbei, just putting the pressure on this Vegapunk and going to be taking this last life, but getting a card. Is it going to be a trigger? It looks like it's a Rocket Luffy, going to be popping that Boa. That's going to be real nice to be able to swing freely at the board as you go into your 10 Dawn turn. So drawing another Egghead Searcher event card, going to be swinging at the Doflamingo, I believe. So a 5-on-4 in terms of a battle is going to prompt a 2k if anything, and looks like might be a Yamato play. Could do something like Yamato, heal 1 life, and then Vegapunk rest 1 with the final Dawn, put the Robin in life as well to basically go from 0 to 2, potentially a really strong play. So this Katakuri, though, could be swinging, but you play the Yamato first. I do like this to pop the Jinbei. There's plenty of life on the opponent's side, so can be able to pop those characters. And did they just pass? They passed without swinging into the Katakuri, so maybe worried a little bit about if they do swing the Katakuri, it will go down, right, because of a battle with the Doflamingo leader. Maybe worried about the amount of counter that they have in hand. Maybe want to save the swinging on these big giant bodies for the Please Save Me event card that they have to be able to provide enough defense to maintain them alive, because that Please Save Me counter card does say if you have 2 or less life, up to one of your leader character cards gains 3,000. So a 1-drop 3,000 power gain. The Doflamingo using the Searcher right away, the Sengoku that they ended up top decking. And looking at this top 5, I mean, feels pretty similar in general. You just replaced one Sengoku with another, so going to have to pick one. I wouldn't mind getting something like a Buggy right now. Just get a 2k in hand, get some counter. You are going to be facing a ton of swings in the coming turns, and so could be nice to set up your hand with a little bit more counter, I think, at this stage of the game. So thinking about where they want to go, might be eyeing up something like the Doflamingo as well. The blocker could be nice, and it looks like they are going in for that blocker. So the blocker going to be able to rearrange their top 5 yet again, and then do this leader effect if they want to do the leader effect, but also in here maybe decide what they want to top deck. So another Jinbei and Weevil in there, Gravity Blade yet again, but I think it's starting to get a little too late for Gravity Blade with these big giant characters coming out on the field. Gravity Blade doesn't work anymore. Gravity Blade's great for something like the Red Purple Law matchup, great for maybe like the Rob Lucci matchup, the Black Yellow Luffy matchup, but in the Vegapunk, these yellow decks right now, these pure yellow decks like a Nell and Vegapunk, it's a little bit more difficult sometimes at these later stages of the game. So with 6 Dawn left in this one, could use 3 for the leader effect. I didn't actually get to see what they top decked, but is going to be something that they might be doing right here. You've got 2 different options. You can either 1 swing 7 and use leader effect and have 3 Dawn left, or going to be attaching the other 2 Dawn, so going to be swinging 9 at lead and then resting that one. Drawing the Jinbei is going to play down a character, what looks like is going to be this Law right here, and the Law is going to put back that Lilith into the hand. The Robin is going to trigger drawing 2 cards, which is nice. And you got 2, what's that guy called? Edison, I think it is. 2 Edison's going to be able to draw a ton of cards and is a 2k counter. So double 2k, can't complain about that. But is going to go and get that whatchamacallit after playing that Sengoku with the final Don. Gonna get that 2k Crocodile right there. So another 2k in hand is nice. So going to have an interesting turn right now for the Vegapunk. Going to be playing that Lilith first using 3 Don. Going to be looking for an Egghead card. Egghead not really having any boss monsters, I feel like, as it comes to memory. So bottom decking that 7-drop Lin would normally be good in this stage of the game, is going to hurt them a little bit putting that at the bottom of the deck, but has 7 Dawn left to work with and 2 gigantic bodies on the field. So going to start out by swinging this Katakuri, this 8 right here, going to really make the Doflamingo decide, okay, do I want to use one of my costly blockers or do I want to finally start taking life? I don't think the Doflamingo has taken a single life yet at this point. The Vegapunk doing an interesting job controlling the board, and that's been their primary focus up to this point, which is could be difficult if you have a leader like Doflamingo spams the board, but ends up swinging into the Jinbei, and so getting that Jinbei, only 5 cards in hand from the Doflamingo, so a difficult decision in general right now. And going to use that Egghead Searcher, going to be bottom decking a Yamato, but could get a Lilith right here. The Lilith is going to come into hand. Looks like bottom decking an Edison as well. Might be playing this Lilith either from hand or through the leader effect. So going to be, what are they using the markers for? By the way, if anybody could explain to me maybe why, if you see this green die, the opponent on the right side is using green die to count something. Is he counting like big bodies going to the bottom of the deck? That's my only thought. If he goes up to 6, that would basically confirm it, because there is a Lin in the hand. Then he is going to have to bottom deck after getting another Lilith on the field. So getting that Chaka in hand, Chaka going to be very nice, is going to put that Chaka in life, has a nice trigger if your leader's Vegapunk play the card. So going to be a nice 6,000 power blocker coming in. So still leaving that die at 5. I'm not 100% sure what that is. Very interesting. But anyways, going into the Doflamingo's turn now, I believe in here has a couple different options with the Boa and the Weevil. Does have a pudding. You saw a ton of searches by this Vegapunk, so it might be nice to play this pudding. But the flip side to that, something that I was kind of mentioning earlier, with all those searches, there's no searches for the big bodies, right? So you would assume that several of the big bodies, at least 1 or 2, were going to be bottom decked. But if you play this pudding, reset the hand, which could be very strong, don't get me wrong, they could draw into some of those bigger bodies, more Katakuris, more Yamatos, Linlins, and is going to opt for that risk. Going to do that play with the pudding is going to be forcing them to shuffle and draw 5. One of the only, I think, shuffle cards in this deck, kind of hand resetting. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 cards that do that in the One Piece trading card game. So a effect that's not super common in this game, but is going to be drawing. Oh, it looks like they've got a looks like accidentally stumbled a little bit, maybe accidentally looking at the top 6, I think it was. So just getting the 5 right there is going to be taking those 5, because those were the top 5 of the stack that they jumboed. But I think accidentally seeing that 6th card right there, so revealing it to both players. This is what the judge is doing in here. Not something that we see a ton, so interesting to get this ruling. Is going to be revealing that 6th card to both players, because the Vegapunk player did accidentally see just a very non-malicious mistake at that point. And so just giving that knowledge both ways. So with that knowledge, doing that top 3 with the Boa is going to be using that leader effect to end the turn. Going to be using that starter deck Moira that we're so used to seeing, and going to be grabbing a character. Why'd they put the Sengoku? Oh, they put the Sengoku in trash because they had 5 or more characters on field. So grabbing that Jinbei, going to be very nice to be able to play another character, that other Edward Weevil, on the field to draw a card. And that Chaka trigger is going to go off and go in. And so now at least you have one big body. You've got three big bodies actually, drawing into a Yamato, a Linlin, and a Katakuri. So not a bad hand, I feel like, at all. And so that Lilith swinging 5 is going to get a 1k Crocodile right here. Another Lilith 5 at this point is going to be another set of poke damage. And thinking about pitching this buggy, it is going to be that buggy right there, the first 2k in hand. That 8 is going to swing at the Moira, is going to knock it out. Now the 9 going into the Yamato and taking a life. It's going to be another Jinbei, and another Yamato is going to be played, replacing the Lilith and taking out the blocker. Boa is, oops, sorry, Morticia. Didn't see you down there. And going to be going into the next turn for the Doflamingo. I was happily kind of swinging my leg down here, and then Morticia tried to rub up against my leg, as she usually does, as a surprise, being the black cat that crawls through the night. But anyways, going into now 10 dawn turn, as I continuously stop moving my leg so then Morticia can have some fun, is going to be looking at different plays right here. Thinking about resting 7, going to Gravity Blade, probably get rid of the Lilith and the Chaka. It feels kind of bad because that is most of your turn, but you do know your top deck, so you are going to be able to play a character down on the field. Going to be getting rid of those 2, which is nice. You get rid of a lot of the poke damage potential that the Vegapunk does have. Going to be playing another Marshall D Teach, so the Marshall D Teach is going to put a card at the top and then attach the 2 rested dawn, is going to leader effect and play this Jinbei. The Jinbei that came from hand is going to play the Edward Weevil, going to be replacing, ooh, this is a tough decision. I would replace the Pudding right now, because if you have the Marshall D Teach on field, you force your opponent to have, you know, another removal card on the Teach, but is going to be playing that Weevil on the field. The Luffy is going to come down. Wait, how did the Luffy come down again? Oh, because of the please save me. So with the please save me trigger that we see right here, it says play an AK character with a cost of 5 or less from your trash. That is going to be that Luffy. Just a strong card in this matchup, especially because you know that the removal is already gone from the turn from the Doflamingo, having played the Gravity Blade earlier, but still has to defend against this swing. Thinking about what they want to defend on this 5, is going to just take it and is going to potentially trigger a 5-drop. Luffy is nice, going to pop that Edward Weevil. So great removal going on right now from this Vegapunk, and with the 9 Yamato in hand and the 8 Katakuri, is going to be able to do it again if they want to. So going to be swinging at that Law, really focusing on controlling the board. Going to be swinging 6 at the Jinbei, going to take that out. Only 3 cards in the Doflamingo's hand, and the Luffy is going to go ahead and pop that blocker. So then the Yamatos that are on the field are going to go ahead and just swing. The Linlin is going to be played with 7 dawn, is going to force the Doflamingo, you know what, I'm going to take this life. And so the 9 swing at Yamato, going to take 1, 9 swing Yamato, going to take another, putting the Doflamingo at 1 life now. And with the final dawn that they're going to use, going to put a blocker Chaka in there. So after getting that Gravity Blade and 1 Chaka going away, a Chaka is going to come right back. The Vegapunk looking in such a strong position. This has been such a cool game to see this leader, a leader that so many people, including myself, I won't lie, wrote off before when this card was released, is getting its limelight now in this game and is in such a strong position. First going to be swinging 5 with the Pudding. The Pudding is going to force them to either take this life, put the Chaka on field, or counter out. It looks like it's going to be counter right there. Resting what looks like 4 dawn, could be something like an Edward Weevil played onto the field to be able to draw a card, maybe draw into a counter card, but going to start off by swinging 6, it looks like. Maybe thinking about playing 2 different characters, 2 4-drop characters on the field, is going to prompt that Chaka, and with 4 is going to be playing the Jinbei into Law, and then with another 4 right here is going to be playing a Crocodile. So the Crocodile coming down is interesting. I'm not 100% sure you return. It looks like just honestly at this point with those swings going to be a Vegapunk win. So with Vegapunk joining the Japan CS top 16 for the first time ever since its release in OP07 is going to be able to get the victory. Just did an incredible job with removing so many pieces on the board for a deck like Doflamingo that really likes to swarm with those 4 cost or less characters. So just an excellent job right there, really manipulating their life and manipulating the board as well, playing ton of removal cards in there. Just, man, insane. So let's go ahead and look at some lists. So we don't have the actual Doflamingo list from this specific tournament, so that specific deck list yet, but I did this morning see a Doflamingo deck list on Twitter that I think is pretty similar in general to what that player was playing. In this one, I will give credit to the person right now. This is Noon 61 over on Twitter. They ended up going undefeated in the Miyagi kind of qualifying round. In this deck list here, we saw plenty of these cards as usual. You know, you got the Buggy, Sengoku, Crocodile. That's a Doflamingo. I apologize. The different crocodiles in this deck. Also, the 2K Mihawks. Didn't really see it in that game, but 2K Mihawk, a very common 2K that you'll see in this archetype. The different 2Ks that you usually play in here, the Buggy, the Crocodile, and the Mihawk. You've got Edward Weevils and the starter deck Moira, the starter deck, or Moria, I'm sorry. The starter deck Moria, just a great card for this deck. You're also playing your Trafalgar Law, Jinbeis, Boa Hancocks, those other 4 cost characters out on the field, as well as that Perfume Femur that we saw that gives your leader or 7 Warlords of the Sea characters unblockable with the 2 Gravity Blades, which are strong in a lot of matchups as we talked about earlier in this video. The Kaido as well, the Kaido being a great card in several different matchups if you're not worried about losing on the next turn, maybe just gaining a ton of cards to be able to find exactly what you needed. I think this was the other Doflamingo that was in the tournament. Just looking, it looks like they ended up losing to Black Yellow Luffy in the top 16 round, so would make sense, you know, going undefeated in Miyagi and then losing in the top 16. We'll take a peek real quick, see what the deck distribution is for the rest of the top 8 to see if any Doflamingos made it for you. So the Vegapunk obviously is in there. Looks like Doflamingo did not make it through in the top 8. Looks like both of them losing in the top 16. But there's a Lucci right here. This is Black Yellow Luffy. This is 3 Enel and 2 Laws. So Enel taking the top spot of the top 8. Wow, exciting. But before we go into that, let's look at a Vegapunk list. Okay, if there's one group that I know has done a Vegapunk video, or I assume has done a Vegapunk video. Vegapunk. So here's a list that I assume is probably pretty close. And then after this, because this video that was made by Shakarikisu, Roy and Tago, if you do not know, I'll link this YouTube channel on the description as well. I love, this is my favorite like Japanese gameplay YouTube channel. They play a ton of games with a ton of different decks. You see a lot of the different cards that we witnessed in this top 16 round. You got the removal from the Yamato, the Katakuris, the Luffys. We didn't really see Onami shine, but Onami, a great card for removal as well. You're playing a couple different 2Ks that are kind of staples in this list, I feel like, with the Frankies and the Edisons, the Usops as well. Those 1-drop 2K characters could be nice. You got the Please Save Me events in the deck as before, and the Liliths with the Nico Robins. A couple differences in this list. We didn't see this character right here, the Atlas. We instead saw a couple Egghead Searcher event cards, that 1-cost Egghead Searcher event card. We also know that there was Linlins in the deck, so maybe if you're looking for a change on this, maybe replace a couple of these Bonnies with the Linlins. That could be something that you see. Or you could do 2 Linlins instead of the Atlas and then 4 of the Searcher cards. Because as we saw, the player did do a ton of searching in the game, so it could be something that would work out real well, especially with sometimes a little bit awkward of Dawn in terms of Dawn usage. You know, we saw once or twice that the Vegapunk did have like 1 or 2 Dawn left in certain situations, so could be nice to replace. Now, the yellow Katakuri deck is the only thing that could probably boost the Vegapunk and help it out now that the starter decks are released, but I'm not sure if you play these, in my opinion. I mean, with the 6-drop Charlotte Linlin, it is a really good card. But I feel like since they were playing the 7-drop Linlin, they probably weren't playing the 6-drop Linlin. And then the Katakuri as well. Being able to give a leader or a character a rested Dawn probably doesn't fit as well in the deck if you're playing the Chaka blockers, because your leader doesn't swing, right? If the Vegapunk leader swung, I would see this probably more likely, but I think the list that Roy and Tago got in this, oh, where did it go? That Roy and Tago got in this video is probably pretty doggone close in the changes that we made if you want a Vegapunk list for yourself. Because I know a couple people that are very excited about Vegapunk, and so what a cool list to see. But the top 8, we'll see if they continue on the Vegapunk or if we'll see a couple different decks. Morticia and I have got you in those videos, so stay tuned tomorrow for that. Or if this video is a day old, then that video is probably already released, which you could go watch. Well, I mean, you can watch a ton of videos. I put out a couple videos the last couple days, hopefully that you enjoy, especially a PB01. So anyways, that's going to be all. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one, and I'll see you later.